Hi everybody, it's Andrew Hutchings with you here tonight. Still not a doctor, still never giving medical advice. It's just taking the information from the whole wide world and putting it in one place. So, typically we think that steroids, derivatives of testosterone that don't aromatize, we think of them as non-estrogenic. Now there are exceptions that I've heard people talk about and that are well known. Like oxymethylone, otherwise known as Nandrolone, is known to have intrinsic estrogenic activity, like it acts as an estrogen, even though it doesn't aromatize, because it doesn't need to aromatize, it just already is an estrogen. But I don't know too much about oxymethylone, so maybe I'm overspeaking, but that's what I have gathered from the little tiny bits I've read. I mean, I don't have an interest in oxymethylone or... I have an interest in all of this stuff, but oxymethylone, Nandrolone, out of all the things in the world, is not high on my list of interests. But what was surprising, and what's not known as much, is that other steroids like Stanozolol, Winstrol, and Nandrolone, deca, and it's especially surprising with Stanozolol, because Stanozolol is so dry, it makes your skin look paper thin. It's like the opposite of estrogen. It's like you're on that, you need estrogen. Like you gotta take some Dianabol with it or some testosterone to get your estrogen up. But it's actually been shown that it causes phosphorylation of the alpha estrogen receptors. And actually that causes proliferation of the growth plates. How that translates into other stuff after you're done growing and such, who knows? But I mean, that's already like, oh, what's going on there? And then it's also been shown to upregulate aromatase expression. Same with Nandrolone. That's interesting. Now, the bro science, or whatever you want to call it, my immediate thought, and I've wondered about this in the past, is, you know, maybe because they don't aromatize, the body needs to upregulate aromatase to make up for the lack of estrogen. Like say a guy takes it, it lowers your testosterone, and then you have less estrogen and the stanozolol doesn't make up for the estrogen. Maybe your body turns up aromatase to try to increase your estrogen to get your body back into balance. Now, perhaps that's also at play here, but that wasn't actually what was shown in a certain study. A certain study actually showed that it works through some IGF-1 pathways to increase aromatase. Yeah, that's scary. It means that if you take your testosterone, maybe you're on like 150 milligrams of testosterone a week, you're all good, your estrogen's in check, your DHT's in check, everything's good. You add in some stanozolol thinking, oh, it doesn't aromatize, it can't do anything bad. Maybe you get gyno because it actually increases aromatase, increasing estrogen. So that's another thing. It doesn't just increase aromatase, like that increase in aromatase does lead to an increase in estrogen, as you would expect, but you never know. Like maybe it increases aromatase, but there's something else that doesn't end up increasing estrogen. But that was not shown to be the case. It was shown that it does increase aromatase and increase estrogen. And then there was another study, because I just was looking at this stuff this morning, and as you can see, it's not morning anymore. I mean, maybe you think the sun's just coming up, but actually the sun just went down. But I can't find it right now, and I'm not going to look super hard because I don't care a ton about this stuff. Like, all I care is, oh yeah, it does increase aromatase, it does have estrogenic activity, but that's about as much as it matters to me. Like, I don't really care all the details, because what am I going to do about it? How does it change my life? I mean, you could say that about all the stuff I'm into, but certain things I look very deep into, certain things it's like, oh, that's good to know. If I want to look into it later, I know that that is something to look into. But these other studies showed that, to rehash what we already know, stanozolol increases phosphorylation of the alpha estrogen receptor. Now that means it activates the estrogen receptor in growth plates, but we can assume that we shouldn't assume, but if it does it in the growth plates, it probably does it elsewhere in the body as well. especially when you look at the other studies that show that it upregulates aromatase expression. And by the way, that was not systemic. That study was in breast tissue and cancer tissue. I think it was also shown in non-carcinogenic breast tissue, but it's very much shown in breast tissue. I mean, in carcinogenic breast tissue. So we've got the increased activation of the receptors, and we've got an upregulation of aromatase. That upregulation of aromatase was due to IGF-1 in one study. Well, I mean, at least partially due to IGF-1 mediate pathways. But in another study, the one I said that I'm not going to look for, it was citing, I think, like 4 different growth factors. Maybe one of them was like nuclear something growth factor. I can't remember which growth factors they were, but basically stanozolol and nandrolone, through these growth factors, it affected some pathway and ended up with more aromatase. Now maybe these growth factors are linked to IGF-1. I don't know. I actually don't know a ton about IGF-1. Maybe I'll learn more in the future. I got an advertisement text message. So what I've been doing to these lately is I get an advertisement and I just respond. Well, actually I use my speech to text. Well, if you're ever looking for a personal trainer, hit me up or feel free to message me or something like that. I mean, they're real people that actually message you, and basically, so you never know, maybe they'll actually take you up on it. So yeah, stanozolol actually has estrogenic activity. Same with nandrolone. And it's very possible that a lot of steroids that we don't think of as estrogenic really do. Who knows, maybe Anavar has estrogenic activity. Maybe Mastron has anti-estrogenic activity, so probably not Mastron. But yeah, just because something doesn't aromatize does not mean it doesn't have any estrogenic activity. And even if it doesn't have direct estrogenic activity like oxymethylone, Anadrol, it could affect something else that ends up increasing estrogen. It's like stanozolol and nandrolone, we see that they increase aromatase. And stanozolol, at least, has also been shown to increase activation of the estrogen receptor. So if you take it standalone, or if you take one of those standalone, chances are the decrease in your bodily estrogen is going to outweigh that increase in estrogenic activity or aromatase. But if you have an external source of testosterone that's going to hold steady, meaning your estrogen is also going to be at normal levels, and then you add in the stanozolol or the nandrolone, your estrogen could end up higher than it should be. So while you would never expect gyno from Winstrol or from deca, okay, let's just say gyno from Winstrol, you would never expect that. And maybe it's not likely, but it doesn't mean it's impossible, because as I just told you, it does actually have estrogenic activity. I hope you like this video. Yeah, I thought this was good stuff to know. I mean, I know people that use Winstrol and they never would have thought that it was estrogenic. I'm not sick, but maybe I shouldn't say that and like jinx myself. Just the weather. So yeah, I hope you like this video, and please like and subscribe, especially if you like the video, because if you like it, why not click like and subscribe, because all my stuff is good. Like, if you're feeling like you don't know enough, or probably the people that really need to raise their IQ think they know everything. But like, I joked with someone on Facebook who was, I don't even know, just commented on a post I commented on. It's like, dude, if you need to raise your IQ, check out my YouTube. So if you don't like school, but you want to gain intelligence, or you want to learn stuff, because I mean, you're not necessarily going to become more intelligent from the videos. I would hope you would, because of the way I talk through the things. You can improve your reasoning and stuff. But yeah, watching my videos should increase your knowledge and your intelligence. So if you don't like school, tune into my videos. I've studied chemistry and biology in school for over 4 years, like over 5 years, if you want to count high school AP classes. I mean, I studied it on my own since I was in high school. But how much biology have I learned from school that's actually like had any impact or taught me anything about anything? Almost zero. Like very, very little I've actually learned from all my years in university. How much chemistry have I learned from university? Well, I've learned about as much as I knew before I went to university. The problem was that I learned chemistry on my own, then I went to university and had to start back at the basics instead of advancing my own chemistry I was learning. And then you know what happens when you don't keep practicing the higher level stuff or improving it? You start forgetting it. So I had to retake general chemistry, and I had some time off school, and then I had to retake basic organic chemistry. I mean, I already knew this stuff before I entered university, but yeah, most people aren't like that. They'd actually come out knowing as much as I knew before I entered university, because that's all you learn for the most part. I have learned a little more chemistry through university. I had one good chemistry class that I really liked, called chemical biology, or bioorganic chemistry. That was the one good one. I mean, I like organic chemistry because I needed to relearn it because I forgot it. So yeah, those were good classes, but I already knew the stuff. It just, yeah, most of it, not everything, not perfect overlap. But chemical biology, definitely, I'm super glad I took that class. Very much just using some intelligence and combining chemistry with biology like I like to do. It's what I'm really into. Oh, and it looks like the video is over 10 minutes, so it means apparently I can someday in the future make more money from it, because right now I don't make any money from my YouTube because I don't have enough views or anything. Like, you need, I don't know how many views, I forgot, but you need a lot of views and stuff. And I think like 1,000 subscribers before you can monetize it, as they call it, where you can start making money. So yeah, please like and subscribe, and check out my Instagram, natural_true_fitness. And coming soon is my website. If you have suggestions for a name, leave them in the comments. One of my friends suggested Fit Hut, because my last name is Hutchings. Maybe it could catch on to be a thing, like people could imagine there's some sort of like hut in Africa and people like being energetic and doing fitness in it. Or it could just simply be a name. I mean, there's Pizza Hut, Fit Hut, could it just be a catchy name maybe? Yeah, you can hire me for coaching, consultations, any sort of advice, information, whatever. You cannot hire me for medical advice or you cannot hire me for medical advice, but you can hire me for a consolidation of the world's medical information into one place that is easy to understand and make decisions based off of. Yeah, not trying to get in any trouble, but still trying to help you and still trying to help me. I hate how society operates with stupid degrees and everything, but I guess we need them, or else you have a bunch of morons doing things, and then other morons or average people can't tell that that person's a moron, and then they go to them and they get all messed up. But you know, that still happens with the doctors we have that go through medical school and everything. I really hate doctors, I do. Most doctors. I don't hate people just because they're a doctor. I hate doctors because they're shitty doctors. We need more good doctors that help people, not screw them up worse or ignore them or whatever. We need doctors that take a person who's in bad condition and make them into good condition. It's really that simple. You go into a doctor down here, they should help you get up here, not worse, not stay the same. sad that doctors are largely useless, except for prescribing drugs, most of them. Some doctors would be good to bounce some thoughts off of. Now, if you don't know anything about medicine, most doctors aren't even useful for you because it's like less than a 50-50 chance that they'll help you. So yeah, they know more about medicine than you, but how does that translate into them helping you? Well, typically it doesn't. And if you've gone to the doctor, you know what I'm saying is true, because you go in with a problem and it doesn't get fixed most of the time. Unless it's like you stubbed your toe or you broke your finger. They can figure out how to fix a broken finger or a broken arm, but anything past that, most doctors don't have a clue. You go to specialists. Ooh, you go to your main doctor. Oh, well, maybe you need to see a specialist. You go to the specialist. Either they're an idiot or they prescribe you to another specialist. Just bounce you around between all these doctors, getting all your money and your time and your energy, all the while your health is either staying the same at the very best or getting worse. Well, I mean, at the very best, maybe you're getting better on your own, hopefully. But if it's a bad problem, it's probably not getting better on its own, or else you wouldn't be going to all these doctors. So yeah, if you need help because doctors aren't helping you, I will consolidate all the information of the whole wide world, including the information from my brain, into one place for you. And it may require me to do more research. Luckily, I'm very experienced with researching. I've been doing research like medical papers and scientific papers. I mean, like, you look at the peer-reviewed side. I mean, some of them are bullshit too. Like, we found out there was one on hydroxychloroquine published into the Lancet, which is a very old and well-trusted medical journal, saying hydroxychloroquine kills people. Guess what? It was complete bullshit, just made up out of thin air. So just because something's in the medical, and then even if it's not completely made up out of thin air, you never know if there's a bias. Oh, no, there's no biases. How could you possibly think that scientists could have a bias? Well, maybe they want their money to keep coming in, or maybe they have a desire to publish first, or there's a whole lot of different reasons why they could have a bias. But that's an unavoidable thing, because you can't really tell which. It's hard, but yeah. Usually I'm able to get things figured out. Luckily, I have not been faced with something I can't figure out yet, except death. But that's like it's a very bad goal to make, because it just makes you depressed thinking about how to not die, because then you're like always failing at your goal, because chances are you're not going to figure out a way to not die. And honestly, I'm not doing in-depth research trying to figure it out yet in experimentation, because I'm busy with school and other stuff. But I am always keeping in the back of my head how I'm going to not die someday. But I try not to think about it, and I usually do a decent job at that, usually. Because if you do think about it, it's like, how would you feel if you knew you're failing at the thing that matters most? And you can't help but to fail at it. Yeah. Well, I hope you like this video. Please like and subscribe. Check out my Instagram, my future website, or maybe by the time you watch this, my website already exists. Always check my descriptions for my videos, because if I make a mistake in a video, or if new evidence comes to light, or for any reason whatsoever, maybe I forgot to say something, I make sure I put it in the description.